Hello and welcome to ITV News Meridian.
Your headlines in the southeast.
Is anyone else in the house?
You take him.
Yep. It's just you in the house.
The moment a teenager is arrested accused of murdering his grandmother, a well-known Brighton restaurant owner.
The family of a woman targeted by killer David Fuller honour her name with a new cancer foundation to help others.
You never get over the fact you've lost your mum, but you sort of learn to live with it. But I think with this, it's just completely different.
Also tonight, the unusual Sussex pub game with a long history. We're in Lewes for the Toad in the Hole World Championships.
And how hazel and willow has been used to craft this incredible legendary giant from local folklore. But what's it all about? Join me later to find out.
Good evening. A police video of the moment a 19-year-old man was arrested on suspicion of murdering his grandmother in the bath at her home in Brighton has been shown in court.
Sue Addis, who was 69 and a well-known restaurant owner, had been stabbed 17 times. Her grandson, Pietro Addis, who was 17 at the time, admits killing her but denies murder on the grounds of diminished responsibility.
At his trial, the jury were also played the 999 call when the teenager told an operator, "I'm calling to hand myself in." Andy Dickinson was in court.
What's happening? Okay, at this
What's
moment,
happened?
I'm arresting you on suspicion of murder, okay?
Police body-worn camera footage shows the moment of Pietro Addis's arrest at the home of his grandmother, Brighton restaurant owner Sue Addis. He arrived at Lewes Crown Court today charged with her murder, a crime he denies. The trial opening this morning, with the jury also hearing the 999 calls he made just before 7 p.m. on January the 7th last year.
Sussex Police Emergency.
I'm calling to turn myself in.
Okay, what's your name?
Pietro Addis.
So when you say you're going to hand yourself in, what do you think you've done?
There's been a murder.
Okay. And who's been murdered?
My grandma.
Okay. Where is she at the moment?
In the bath.
Police officers arrived at the home in Withdean just minutes after this call was made. They found the 69-year-old lying dead in the bath in a pool of blood-stained water. A post-mortem later revealed she'd been stabbed 17 times. Mr. Addis was charged with murder the following night. He admits killing her and has pleaded guilty to manslaughter, but he denies murder on the grounds of diminished responsibility, that he was suffering from paranoid psychosis at the time. Mr. Addis was diagnosed with ADHD in 2018 and prescribed medication, the court was told. The following summer he began smoking cannabis, started a catering course and began working at the family's restaurants. Yet 4 months before her death, his grandmother had told friends she was concerned about the teenager, Pietro finally leaving his family home and moving in with her, aged 17. Just over a week later, he had killed her. He wept in the dock as his grandmother's concerns for him were read out. Mr. Addis's defence will argue the frenzied nature of the attack and his behaviour, both before and after, all indicate psychotic mental illness. The Crown contend that he suffers no psychotic mental disorder, and since killing his grandmother, he's been prescribed no antipsychotic medication. Summing up, the prosecution said, as tragic and bewildering as it may be, Pietro Addis murdered his grandmother. The trial continues. Andy Dickinson, ITV News, Lewes.
The police watchdog has decided not to investigate Kent police following 2 deaths at a tattoo parlour in Canterbury. The force referred itself to the IOPC after the incident last Monday. A man in his 50s and a woman in her 30s were pronounced dead at the scene. The woman's death is being treated as suspicious. However, officers are not looking for anyone else in connection with their investigation.
A man from East Sussex who was caught with an estimated £400,000 worth of cocaine in his car has been jailed for 6 years. Police found a bag of drugs and £40,000 in cash in the back of Christopher Morris's vehicle. The 42-year-old admitted possession, intent to supply and money laundering.
Kent County Council says it's doing everything in its power to minimise delays for people offering a home to Ukrainian families and to provide refugees with additional support.
After fleeing the conflict, sisters Yelizaveta and Anissa are living in Gravesend with family. They're taking free English classes offered by the council. Here's Sarah Saunders.
Good morning.
Good morning.
How are you?
Fine, now fine.
A new country, a new home and a new language.
My small daughter very nice sing song.
After fleeing Kyiv with their young daughters, sisters Inessa and Yelizaveta are taking free English classes provided by Kent County Council.
We needed to study English because in the future it helps us find job and we can useful for English people and can help our daughter, her daughter. We need it.
Inessa and Yelizaveta are staying in Gravesend with their sister under a family visa. More refugees are due to arrive via the Homes for Ukraine scheme, matching families with host volunteers. In Kent, more than 2,000 people have been matched with a family. Of those, 614 have their visas. But so far under this scheme, just 40 Ukrainians have arrived here. The leader of Kent County Council says they're doing all they can to minimise delays.
When they are matched with someone coming from Ukraine, that is the point at which we as the local authorities can really focus on that. Firstly, to help establish the arrangements for when they are here under this very different scheme from all the resettlement schemes we've seen before. And that's where carrying out DBS checks, home checks, those come in. There is then, when people arrive, there will be welfare checks. Also, a great deal is being done to bring all this together. I think there's still further to go because this is a big and complex programme.
From Inessa and Yelizaveta, a few words of thanks in their third language.
Thank you, people England, за то, что нас приняли.
That invite us.
Sarah Saunders, ITV News.
The children of a woman whose body was abused in a hospital mortuary in Kent say they hope she would be proud of them after they set up a cancer foundation in her name.
Tanya Mackeldon died of the disease in 2017, but it was late last year that her family were first told that her body was among more than 100 abused by hospital electrician David Fuller. He's since been jailed for life.
Now, Chloe and Tom say they're focusing on helping others after their first fundraiser brought in more than £2,000.
When she had cancer, she was the strongest person I've ever known. Like, she literally always had a smile on her face. When she went to hospital appointments, like, they couldn't believe she was still smiling. When she was given bad news, she was still smiling.
Chloe and Tom Mackeldon were both in their teens when their mother Tanya died of cancer in 2017. 4 years later, police officers told them her body was among those abused by maintenance worker David Fuller at Tunbridge Wells Hospital.
We just couldn't get our head around it, could we? It was just
couldn't believe
sickening.
that someone could do that. You never get over the fact you've lost your mum, but you sort of learn to live with it. But I think with this, it's just completely different.
And for a long time, I couldn't even look at pictures of her because when I looked at her, all I saw was his horrible face. And for a long time, I was angry then at him because I thought, how dare you ruin the lovely memories I've had of my mum. So this is table one.
The brother and sister are now focusing on setting up a foundation in their mum's name.
Donations into the envelope.
It launched with a ball in Headcorn, which raised more than £2,500. The aim is to use the money to fund foreign holidays for families with loved ones with terminal cancer, inspired by the memory of a trip to Greece with their mum shortly before her death.
It was the most amazing 7 days of my life. It was just absolutely brilliant. The four of us in Cos, in the sun, just making some really lifelong memories together. So I sort of took that idea into, I want to be able to offer that to other families.
Tom hopes that one day running the foundation could become his full-time job, ensuring the memory of his mum's kindness and generosity lives on.
Do you think your mum would be proud of what you're both doing?
I hope so.
Yeah.
Putting in a lot of time. Yeah, I can say putting a lot of time and effort for her not to be, but I think she'd be proud of the fact that we're sort of doing things that she would have done herself if she could.
Our reporter Kit Bradshaw there. You're watching ITV News in the Meridian region. Coming up,
we're going to have a private look around Tunbridge Wells' new multi-million-pound cultural hub before it officially opens next week.
And I'm out and about with a legendary giant of folklore. Join me and this one a little bit later, and of course we'll have your full weather forecast.
And as you know, you can find more on today's top stories in the South East by going to our website. Please head to itv.com/Meridian. You can call us on 0808 1010 095. And remember, you can also follow us on Facebook, Twitter and Instagram.
Next, the mental health of teenage girls is at breaking point, according to a study by support network Steer Education. It also found that girls are now a third more likely to suffer with poor mental health than boys of the same age.
Well, social media is partly blamed, along with the pandemic, which has amplified the issue in a rise in unhealthy perfectionism. Amani Khan has more.
Not all days have been as bright as this. In high school, Kia struggled with her mental health.
I really didn't like myself, and that's quite a sad thing to feel. It was just, a general feeling of sadness. If you looked at me from the outside, nobody would have known. I came off as quite a confident young woman. You know, I was in and out of relationships. People would have thought that I was having a great time, but really no, inside I was just very sad.
And like Kia, there are many young girls struggling. A recent study, which analysed a survey of 15,000 secondary school pupils, found that the pandemic's had a devastating impact on, in particular, young women and girls.
The ability to self-regulate in young people has fallen dramatically compared to pre-pandemic levels. And even more stark is that there's quite a difference in the trends between girls and boys. Girls are showing a 33% reduction in the ability to self-regulate, and boys are showing about 12 to 15%.
One young person's counsellor from Dover says the results are not surprising.
There's a biological development and developmental difference between girls and boys. Now, girls at secondary school age are, they do tend to tend to focus more on their appearance, and social acceptance is a lot more important to them.
These teenagers say the use of social media can lead to mental health issues. The study highlights many are striving for unhealthy perfectionism.
Girls are driven into thinking that they need to be a certain way, but they don't have to be. But that worry in trying to become like them causes mental health issues, which can then further affect their entire life.
No one really posts about the bad things that happen to them, so girls who feel bad about themselves don't have much representation and much support.
There's lots of things included in social media, like filters, and that makes you think that you have expectations to be beautiful and stuff.
Research revealed that by the age of 18, girls are twice as likely to experience mental health problems than boys. It also found that 80% of girls are staying silent about their struggles, compared with 60% before the pandemic. Kia, who now runs mental health workshops at schools, says there needs to be better systems in place.
Classes to support parents on how to talk to teenagers about their mental health, because I know a lot of parents struggle with that. Support for teachers, because teachers are often the first port of call when young people are struggling, and a lot of them don't know what to do. And then the same thing to support young people in their own self-care and care for their general mental health as well. If systems like that were set up in every school across the country, I think you would see much lower levels of young people struggling.
The government says they are supporting teachers by offering training to senior mental health leads in every state school and college by 2025. Amani Khan, ITV News.
It's 6:15 and the ITV Evening News continues with the national and international news at 6:30 with the details. Mary Nightingale.
Coming up on the programme, we've got all the best bits of Prince Harry's extraordinary interview with American TV. He spoke about his mother and he was asked if he misses his father and brother. But what did he mean when he said this about the Queen?
She's always got a great sense of humour with me, and I'm just making sure that she's, protected and got the right people around.
Well, you make her laugh. That's what she always says. Did you do it again?
Yes, I did. But...
Also ahead, the Prime Minister faces the Commons again as opposition MPs insist he must resign over his Partygate fine. Plus, has Netflix peaked as subscribers decline for the first time ever? We look at why. Would you join me for that and more at 6:30?
So that coming up very shortly. First, though, a £21 million project to bring together a library and museum, education and council services will soon be opening its doors to the public.
The Amelia Scott project in the centre of Tunbridge Wells is expected to attract almost 500,000 visitors each year. Abigail Bracken has been for a look around.
Glass from the pavement to the arched roof, joining together newly restored buildings to create a combined museum, art gallery and library. So toddlers can enjoy books under the stars in a new children's library, while visitors can see paintings by Gainsborough of the local and aristocratic Camden family alongside their clothes.
So why does Tunbridge Wells need this new building?
Well, Tunbridge Wells has always had a library and a museum, but this is something else. This is going to draw in nearly 500,000 people into the town each year, and it's going to give people an absolutely amazing building in which they can learn a bit about the town and the borough, in which they can read, discover new things, and just come to be inspired.
And there's lots of different rooms, aren't there? What about this one?
So this is the story of the Wells, and this is a place where you can come and find out about how the town first came into being. There are interactive exhibits where you can find out about what the town looked like hundreds of years ago, and you can find out about some of the things that went on in the town or were manufactured in the town and in the wider borough.
The centre is named after the suffragist and one of Tunbridge Wells' first women councillors, Amelia Scott. She campaigned for women's rights and helped set up the original museum and library here. This vast atrium with its 11-metre tall barrel-vaulted roof is entirely new and connects the older adult education building with the library and brings them together here, as well as creating this new space for live events. The building was first conceived as a Millennium project, but construction finally started here 2 years ago. It's £21 million cost, paid for by Tunbridge Wells Council and Kent County Council, along with Lottery and Arts Council funding, helping to restore the museum's old exhibits, display new ones and create a new space for council services.
This is the place that you can come for all sorts of regular council services. So if you've got questions about benefits, you've got questions about housing, this is the front line of council services. It's the replacement in many ways for what was our gateway services. But one of the things that's really been important to us is to actually create somewhere that the people are welcome.
And they'll be welcomed from the 28th of April, when the new artworks for this terrace will be fully installed and the Amelia Scott will be open for visitors. Abigail Bracken, ITV News, Tunbridge Wells.
Some building there. Now, forget the FA Cup final or the County Cricket Championships map, because tonight in Sussex, the international toad in the hole competition is taking place.
Yes, with 48 teams aiming for glory, the stakes could not be higher. Live then to Lewis and James Dunham, who's there for us. James, so toad in the hole, OK? Tell us, it's very historic, it's very famous in those parts, but nothing to do with Yorkshire puddings.
Nothing to do with Yorkshire puddings, Matt. I actually thought on the phone this morning when the news editor said, James, can you go down and cover the World Toad in the Hole Championships? You know, there'd be some sausages in batter, a bit of gravy on the side, some veg. But no, these brass coins are the toads. And the idea of this game is to simply get it in the hole. So let's give it a go. Oh, so that was a bad shot because I hit the backboard. But somebody who will do much better this evening is Johnny. Johnny, you're from Dynamo Kemptown, one of 14 teams from Brighton taking part. There's a lot of skill that needs to go into this.
Yeah, a lot of skill, a lot of practice and a lot of beer.
And what's your technique?
I use a sort of dig back lob thing. I try not to think about it too much, otherwise it just goes crazy.
It sounds very technical. And how long have you been practicing for?
Lots of wasted hours and lots of times when I really wasn't practicing, but I was.
Are you feeling confident about this evening?
Well, looking at the board, I'm not so sure. Probably first round, maybe. We'll see.
Well, fingers crossed it goes well for you. Good luck. Thank you very much, Johnny. I have to say, some of the team names are great. One of them is, for example, is called Total Eclipse of the Heart. Let's now bring in Pippa. You're from the Bonfire Society organising this event. I mean, clearly there's an appeal to it.
Yeah, we've got 48 teams attending tonight, and we've had a huge response. So we've had to have a big waiting list.
You're oversubscribed.
Well and truly oversubscribed. We've got teams coming from Lincoln, from Oxfordshire, from Devon, so it's a real countrywide event now.
And where does this event stem from?
So it's a Sussex traditional pub game. It's been played for years, but it seems to be in full revival now, and we've got lots of younger players coming up.
Fantastic stuff. Thank you very much, Pippa. Well, look, let's give it one more go while I'm here, Matt and Sangeeta. I wasn't good the first time. Let's see if I can get it in the hole. Fingers crossed. I wasn't good at PE in school, so let's go with that. No, on the floor there, absolutely rubbish. I think I'll be honest there.
James, thank you. He wasn't bad. That was not a bad effort.
Do you know what? Because I was concentrating on what the director was saying. Did it go in that time?
It didn't go in, no. But I think for a beginner, he did quite a good job.
Yeah.
But I think we need to head to a pub in Sussex pretty soon.
I reckon.
To have a game.
I think we could be champions.
Yes.
Now, it was a bit chilly this morning, but then the sun came out, as you know. Pip's out and about because she always likes a sunny day and being out on location with a new friend by the looks of it, Pip.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm here on the South Downs today, land of mythical giants, and bringing one such giant to life at the moment is local land artist Mark Ford. Mark joins me now. Mark, I think first things first, please introduce us to this very fine fellow here.
This sculpture is a representation of Ascapart the giant, who reportedly lived within the hills of the South Downs.
Fabulous. Now, he was a very short giant, as giants go, but this is a huge structure. How have you gone about making this?
My process as a weaver is like a large drawing, so one line at a time, one rod at a time.
Fabulous. And this is all made of hazel and willow, locally sourced, I gather, as well.
Yeah, I grow the willow myself, have a willow bed within the park, and the hazel is from local coppice workers who also work within the park.
So a local giant in every sense of the word. Now, this is a huge sculpture, as we've said. How long has it taken for you to put this together?
So far, this has taken between 80 and 90 hours, and I'm aiming for completion by the end of the week.
Fabulous. And very importantly, by the end of the week, there is an open day here, isn't there, on Saturday? And it's not just a piece of art to look at. People can actually interact with it as well, can't they?
Absolutely. So the intention of the Stop a Minute project, funded by the National Park, is for people to come outside into the woodlands and experience what's here already. So you may have a response, you may want to write a poem or write a song or just do a drawing about Ascapart giants. But on Saturday, yes, there were workshops, there's a storyteller, there's music, so come along.
Fabulous. And if you've ever wondered what goes on in a giant's head, then perhaps Saturday is the day to find out. But the question is, will it be good giant spotting weather? Let's take a look at the full forecast and find out exactly what's in store.
Feels like home, whatever the weather. Valent Boilers and Heat Pumps sponsors ITV Meridian Weather.
Well, it has, of course, been a glorious day out here today. For the next few days, we hold on to largely settled conditions, mostly dry, albeit with a bit more cloud on the scene as we head into the weekend. And it will feel quite cool for some of us with a nagging easterly breeze throughout. So low pressure has been out towards the west today. That's where it will stay through the next few days. We keep that easterly breeze, keeping that low pressure at bay, and it won't really be until the latter part of the weekend where that low pressure could introduce a few showery outbreaks from the south. But out there at the moment, it remains dry, and those dry conditions take us through the rest of this evening and tonight. Cloud coming and going, and even under the clearest skies, I think it should stay largely frost-free. Even in rural spots, temperatures probably hovering around 3 to 4 Celsius at their lowest. So tomorrow morning, quite a fresh start, but a bright start. Some lovely sunshine first thing. A bit of patchy cloud bubbling up into the afternoon, but it should stay dry. Temperatures inland at their best 16, 17 Celsius. Always a little cooler around the coast, especially so on that East Kent coast with that onshore easterly breeze. High tide times for tomorrow then for Brighton, 2:45 in the morning, 3:15 in the afternoon. And as we look beyond tomorrow, well, things remain largely settled. That increasing risk of showers through the latter stages of Saturday and into Sunday, but otherwise a lot of dry weather, cloud coming and going, but that easterly breeze quite brisk at times, making it feel fresher than the temperatures might suggest.
Valent sponsors ITV Meridian Weather.
And Pip, just quickly before we go, it's great to see you out and about. As the weather starts to get a bit warmer and a bit more sunshine, are you going to be doing it more often?
Oh, well, hopefully. I am a bit of a fair weather presenter as it goes. But if you at home have got anywhere that you think we should be visiting, then let us know. Meridian Weather at ITV.com. And fingers crossed, weather permitting, we could be coming to visit somewhere near you very soon.
Great stuff for now, Pip. Thank you very much indeed. That is it from us for this evening. In a moment, of course, the ITV Evening News with Mary Nightingale.
I'll be back just after 10:30 for your late update. For now, though, from all of us here, thank you so much for watching. See you again tomorrow. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.